Episode 198. Let's go. Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. Trey Griggs here, Beta Consulting Group, for episode 198 of Standing Out, a daily podcast about sales, marketing, and leadership, marching our way towards 200. It's been a crazy ride. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. We got a great week of shows. Got a great lineup of guests this week. It's going to be awesome. Hope you come back for every show this week, which is only 4 shows, not 5 this week. We had Erica Rice on yesterday. Had a great conversation about swag and merchandise, especially for Christmas. John's coming on here in just a little bit. Tomorrow, we got a labor market update with Charlie Safro and Brent Orsuga. It's going to be fire. You're going to want to make sure you be here for that. And then on Thursday, episode 200 with guest host Matt Leffler. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll play a little trivia. We'll do some giveaways. We'll talk a little about the highlights of the journey so far and some announcements for 2023. It's our final show, everybody, of 2022. We're going to take a few weeks off. We're going to redo a few things and redesign the set and all kinds of good stuff. So a lot of fun things in store, but make sure you come back on Thursday. It's going to be an hour-long show, 10:30 a.m. Central, right here on LinkedIn, Live, YouTube, and Facebook. All right, got to give a little love to our sponsors. I want to shout out to Task, good guys in freight factoring. They're helping owner-operators and carriers keep those wheels turning with cash flow resources, discounts on fuel, tires, and so many other things. Reach out to them at task.com. Let them know that Trey sent you. And listen, if you are behind the wheel of a truck, thank you so much for what you do. You are the heroes of the supply chain, and we appreciate it greatly. Greatly. All right, let's go ahead and get today's show started. My guest, this is round 2 with this guy. He was on, and he's actually was on the show when my stepdad walked in on the live recording, which is part of our highlight reel that you might see at the beginning of every show. He was great at that time, become a really good friend since that time. We've had great conversations since then. So please welcome the president of LogX, John Calloway. What's up, buddy?
How we doing, Trey?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for bringing me back on the show, man.
Absolutely. I had to make sure that I wasn't at my parents' house today, so we are in no threat of my dad walking in or in his underwear or something crazy. So just you and I today. We don't have to worry about that, man.
That was an interesting one. I will say that was a first for me.
You know, what's funny about that was that was like the first time that we had met, really. I mean, really had a good conversation in person. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that's so unprofessional. Oh my gosh. But it ended up becoming kind of a highlight of the show, and it made our, countdown timer. And so it's a great memory and a good laugh. And, it was good.
Yeah. And for those that didn't see that episode, I want to make it clear that he did not walk in his underwear.
Definitely not. He
was not. Yeah. Trey's not out here putting it on the highlight reel.
Not doing that. That's right. Well, I remember telling him 10 minutes before, hey, we're going live. Don't come in. But it's his house, and he's at that age where he's like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm coming in. I got to get my checkbook. I got to go run an errand. So
right. Well, when you pay the mortgage.
Funny. That's the way it goes. Yep, that's how it is. All right, so John, let's talk a little bit about LogX and what you got going on there. For some who may not know who you are, go ahead and share just a little about yourself and what you guys do at LogX.
Sure. So first off, about me, been married over 6 years, have 2 wonderful kids. And like Trey said, I'm the president at LogX, and I hold direct accountability for the strategic vision and direction of the company. LogX as a whole, we're a niche focused provider. So what does that mean? We like to tackle the things that nobody else wants to touch. So we move commodities that are highly sensitive. So your deep frozen products like ice cream, popsicles, sorbet, things like that. And a lot of other various commodities and service lines come with that. But we like to get our hands dirty on the things that nobody likes to touch.
Yeah. What was it that drew you to that, for example? Because a lot of people, don't. I remember I did refrigerated for a little while myself. Not a lot of people want to touch ice cream and things like that.
Yeah, and what was that question you asked with that?
What was it that drew you to that? What was it that got you guys excited about that?
We're in a saturated industry. There are over 15,000 brokerage companies within North America. So when we started 3 years ago, we really had to define how we're going to separate ourselves. And that came from us looking at spots that we really, given our industry experience and exposure, didn't see many people playing in, and taking that another step, playing in it well. So that's what drew us to those things.
Nice. Yeah. And I got a chance to come down to Springfield, Missouri, where you guys are based out of. Got to meet your team at a Top Golf like event. What was the name of that place? It was not Top Golf. It was like Top Golf.
It's big shots.
Big shots. That's right.
It's basically, the mid-market Top Golf, if you will.
Yeah, it was a blast. I got to meet your team and hang out with them, which was a ton of fun, and just to see the work that they do and the camaraderie that you guys have built. We're going to talk a little bit about culture today, but before that, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the industry right now. It's an interesting time. I've been seeing reports of just recently the U.S. Department of Labor and Bureau of Statistics, they put out information saying that the economy added more jobs than they expected last month in the month of November. Also, that wages, continue to go up, that the Fed's thinking about continuing to raise mortgage rates because they think the economy can handle it. On the flip side of that, you see a lot of freight brokerages, you see a lot of tech companies, a lot of people either laying people off or talking about a slowdown in freight a little bit. We're seeing spot loads go down quite a bit, seeing maybe some contract rate go up a little bit. What's your take on the current economy that we're living in right now?
Well, I'm sure anybody that answers that question has minimal confidence in their answer, because everything everything we've answered over the past few years it feels like it's been the exact opposite, right? So when we talk about what's going on in the freight industry, I think a lot of leaders have a hard time making sense of it all, given how fast we ramped up across the board in the industry and how fast we fell off the cliff as an industry in terms of demand, and obviously spot and contractual rates and negotiation through that.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see how it's all played out so far, and I wonder if just the uncertainty of it all, because when things are uncertain, it tends to create a little doubt in people's minds. Could be a
Mhm.
reason for some of the layoffs, or it could be that those were kind of in the works. A lot of them actually happened on November 9th, the day after the election, when that
Right.
happened. So you wonder about the timing of it, if it was really just all in the works for a while, and that was the best date. Friend Gabe Pankinen over at Rocket Shipping kind of felt that way on Word on the Street one day. So it's real interesting to see what's happening in the industry right now. But we had to know it was going to come back down. I mean, that's the cycle of freight.
Right. Right. Well,
Couldn't stay that way.
it's a cyclical industry, right?
Yeah.
And it's like clockwork. It's almost like every 3 years we go through the cycle and it starts over. And as a business leader, you'd hope that most companies and the executive teams aren't engaging with their employees and their people and their resources in a way that is politically driven. But you almost have to ask the question, right? And I don't know what his name was, but he brought it up on your other show. And like you said, I mean, it's worth the question because it happened on such a large scale on that day.
Right.
And
Right. Exactly.
I'm not gonna put my tin hat on here.
Yeah, Gabe brought that up, that they felt like
Right.
there might have been some coincidence to that date in terms
Right.
of where they're going with that. But yeah, and from a leadership perspective, let's talk about that for a little bit. About how do you lead well in tough times? We've seen companies go through this where we've seen some CEOs do really poorly run layoffs, whether it be on a Zoom
Sure.
call in the past or an email or different things like that. We've also seen some that have done it with a lot of compassion, and also just how to lead when there's uncertainty in the market, when your employees are seeing it. It's not like they're blind to it on their personal level.
Sure.
What are some tips on leading during some of these challenging times?
Well, I think you have to lead with empathy, and that can be really hard when there's a lot of tension, right? When there are those unknowns that you're talking about. But what I've found through, riding the ebbs and flows of the market is that more transparency typically helps. So when you're giving your team the inside view, and I wasn't good at this at the beginning, I was very much so like, hey, need to know basis, leaders only, But then what I realized is once that information was given to them, they had a deeper level of investment in what we're doing because they have a very clear understanding of where we're at, what we're doing today, how do we get there, and how they play a role in that process for growth.
Yeah, and that's a tough call as a new leader, especially as in a new company. Is how much information do you share, and how you've navigated this for a while now at Logix. How have you decided how much you share with your team versus what's still maybe keep close to the chest as a leader?
I'm super thankful that I have a team that is willing to just knock on my door and ask me the questions and accept the answers. And what I mean by that is I'll share what you want me to share. If it hasn't crossed my mind as something that's important, that's on me because my lack of awareness to those things was poor. But I'm super thankful that we have a team set up here that will come in, say, "Hey, I was thinking about this. I we haven't talked about it. Can you share this with me?" And in my eyes, how I gauge the level of importance is primarily if it's important to them, it should probably be important to me, right? And now there are some things that I won't share that probably have to do on an employee basis. But I think if it's important to them, it should be important to me. And if they believe that it will drive them to be more successful, why wouldn't I share it with them?
Yeah, it's a good point to make, and it's good to have people who have, a culture, I should say, where people feel welcome to come in and ask questions and talk about what's on their mind and those types of things. Again, I think it goes to the culture of it all and the leadership of it all, and it starts when the times are good. It's like when times
Right.
are good, that's when you should pour into developing a culture for your team and developing that. What are some things you guys have done at Logix to build that culture where people just feel comfortable to come and ask questions and talk about things?
We are on a pretty strict schedule with things that drive our culture, right? So every Wednesday we have team lunches. And I know it sounds silly because you see all these memes about like corporations equal free pizza, but no time off, or, those things. It's like,
Yeah.
perks, right? But no, we have team lunches every Wednesday. We pray together as a team every single day, Monday through Friday. Um, you know, there's a lot of flexibility in our schedules here that allow people to focus on things outside of these four walls, right? But we're small enough today where the communication and the trust is there, where we don't need to have all these strict corporation rules. So I think when we implement schedules and the structure from the throughout the week, they feel more valued because we trust them to go do their work, whether they're inside these four walls or not.
Yeah, and those weekly lunches that you have, it's not about the food so much; it's about spending time together as a team. We
Right.
found that. I mean, you guys have a team in Springfield. My team's virtual. We spend time sometimes just on Teams or Zoom calls, just sitting there working together on the call, just so it feels like we're together and we're talking about
Mhm.
little things other than work while we're doing our work, and establishing those times and really making them important. I think what tends to happen is if it's not something that's really important, it will eventually erode over time, where somebody will
Mhm.
miss, and then two people will miss, and then after a while, it's like, well, let's cancel this week, and then before long, it's no longer
And now we
something
no
that's
longer have
happening.
a weekly meeting, right?
Right, right,
And I don't want to
exactly.
be death. I don't want to have death by meeting, right? Nobody likes that. But and here's the thing, man, and we're talking really candidly, but when you boil it down, you just gotta be intentional with the people and show that you care. They're gonna give that back to you tenfold, right?
Yeah,
Build a relationship with them. And there's no like one straight answer to how to do this, right? What works here might not work for another company. But it's things like, one of my VPs, like he has basically a tray of candy in his right when you walk into his office. Guys walk through there, grab a piece of candy, great opportunity for everybody to talk. Whenever they just grab a piece of candy, right? And it's not there because he wants people to have candy, right?
yeah,
It's
something to
there
stop them along the way.
to
Yeah, yeah.
stop them, to have the conversation, to say, "Hey, how you doing? What do we got this week? Can I help you with anything?"
What kind of candy does he have in there? I got to know. You got any Tootsie Rolls in there?
No, he's got the Costco, like dark chocolate, sea salt
Oh
caramel,
yeah, yeah, oh, yeah.
the
Those are
bites.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Those are really good. I remember when I
He,
did door to door, I used to try to find all the places that had Tootsie Rolls. Now they didn't have it to them. That was actually my icebreaker. Is I'm
right.
like, where's all the good candy? Where's the Tootsie Rolls? What's going? The next door neighbor has Tootsie Rolls. What are you doing here with it's, it's kind of thing. Having fun, a little fun
Sure.
with it. So
He
that's a
had
good
some
idea.
of the Lindt or was it Lind chocolates?
I don't know.
I
What
don't
are those?
know. really good chocolates. I'll tell you that much.
Dark chocolate, milk chocolate, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, they were gone within about 2 days.
So when you guys do like your office, like, health and wellness month, a lot of offices do that, does he put the
Right.
candy away or does
You
he
know, I think he leaves it out there just to, because
put out some cherry tomatoes or something,
right, yeah, sliced up veggie trays, something like that.
You still get the same effect, although you might not get as many people stopping by. You never know. I don't know,
Right.
but
Yeah.
no, it's important to be intentional about that. And the thing about the weekly lunches is it's not really a meeting. I mean, it is, but
Mhm.
when you're sharing a meal together, the conversations are different. I've found,
It is. I mean, internally, that's true, and even externally, right? You go with customers, and there's just something special about breaking bread with them
yeah,
and getting to know them on a personal level.
yeah, there really is. I mean, it's completely different whenever you do that. So I think that's really valuable to have that.
Well, and
Yeah,
that could that leads me to ask the question, right? We were talking about it earlier, but who are the right customers, right? Do you find ones that mesh well relationally and value the same things that you do in terms of your cultural competencies or whatever you want to call it? Or do you just chase the revenue,
right,
right?
right.
Like super
Well,
hard to gauge those things.
it is hard to gauge those things. And I think that's where, we've talked about this a little bit offline, but that's where, when you're really good at messaging and marketing your company and what you do, what you value, then you tend to attract those people, So, for example, I always go back to Chick-fil-A. Like when you go to
Mhm.
Chick-fil-A, nobody's upset, nobody's rude typically or impatient. It's weird. But then you go to a different fast food restaurant and, people are complaining or they're yelling or they're impatient.
Mhm.
Obviously, Chick-fil-A does a good job, but there's also this culture that they've built that really attracts those kind of people to come in, sit in line of 30 cars because they know it's going to go pretty quick and the food's going to be good and they're going to get a smile and my pleasure. And that's the kind of people that they attract, and people that aren't
Right.
into that tend to go a different direction. So I think there's a lot of value in that. And when you do that, you tend to attract the right customers, right clients that value what you do and who you are.
Yeah, I think that's you hit it right on the head, man. And I think I'd rather go to bed at night and not wrestle with, did we make the right decision on that or not? Right? I'd rather me say, hey, that one didn't work out, but we wouldn't change a thing. If we did it all over again, we would have treated it the same way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus changing who we are just to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk for a minute about, I want to go back to your earlier history, talk about some of your time, at your previous companies. I know you had some time at C.H. Robinson. We got a mutual friend, Adam James, that we've talked about. Talk about, some of that experience of kind of watching the processes that they had and that experience as an employee that has really helped you out here now leading Logix in a similar fashion.
Yeah. By no mistake, C.H. Robinson is the industry leader, and they've grown to that over 100 years, right? Um, they have a lot of great things that they do. There are a lot of great people there. The systems, processes, technology, and the people um, are very good. You don't get to become a $20 billion plus company without those things.
Yeah. I think the
So,
last report I saw was like 28 billion or something. I mean, it's huge. Yeah.
right. So we're not that size, if you wanted to know. But I think, and it's a funny story, and I think he's watching the show right now. My vice president of operations, he was actually my general manager at C.H. Robinson, and now he's with Logix. And he did a wonderful job of equipping me with a platform and putting up these walls to say, hey, John, how do you want to define success here? What does that look like for you? And a lot of the times, Trey, like those questions didn't really have to do with the work. It had to do with, how do you want to treat people? How do you want to be treated? What do you find merit in? Right. And when you look at like the hierarchy of who you are as a person, what's important to you? Right. So is it, faith, wife, kids, work? Right. All right. Well, let's see how we can entangle ourselves in those things for our employees. and elevate all of them. Because when we elevate all those things, the productivity here is going to come. That's my belief, at least. But, and I don't know if that answered your question, but I think when you look at the personal and professional side of what CH taught me, there's a consistent theme or string running through them.
Yeah, no, that absolutely has to answer the question, because I wanted to understand, where you got your background, and just hearing, what you experienced there as an employee and how you're now turning that around and doing that with your team. I think that's really, really valuable. It's funny. I was traveling recently, and I watched a couple episodes of Ted Lasso. I don't know if you've watched any of that show. Have you seen some of that?
I did, and it's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you got a guy who is not an expert in soccer, but he is, an expert in people. And you can see that clearly, that he's just getting to know people and how to, best benefit and bless people. And as a result, they end up becoming a better, soccer team and playing better overall. And it's really fascinating. It's a fascinating character study on when you really invest in people, what happens to productivity and performance.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it is a weird balance too. It's like the business has to operate.
Right.
So when you're a smaller team and growing, what does that look like in terms of balance with allowing your people to take time to themselves and still managing the business and having it operate, and even more so around the holidays? That's a fun one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that leaders probably tend to kind of lead more towards one or the other, and trying to find that really good balance is important. Some people are a little bit more people focused and less on the operations. That could be a real problem. And then some people might be too focused on operations and not caring about people. And that obviously is going to be a problem as well.
Yeah.
To some extent,
Right. Well, the extremes on those sides and the outcomes are typically high turnover or no more business.
Or no more business, right? Yeah. I mean, those are both bad outcomes either way. That's for sure.
Right.
All right, John, we're going to pause for a minute. We got to, every day we do something a little fun on the show. We're going to celebrate the National Day today. Every day is a national day. Like we got Christmas coming up. We had, Thanksgiving a few weeks ago. Do you know what today's National Day is?
Trey, I have no idea.
We're going to go back to our college days on this one to celebrate this one. All right. So today's National Day is National Microwave Oven Day. Something we lived off of back in the day.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know who's picking these. Who decided that December 6th was going to be National Microwave Oven Day? But anyways, that's what it is.
Maybe there's a National Day task force team out there that we don't know about.
There could be. I know. I'm putting these things together. All right, let's go back to college real quick. What is something that you regularly cooked in the microwave in college?
Man,
there's one clear answer that all guys probably would have for sure. But what do you got?
I'm trying to think.
Okay, you had to live on Hot Pockets a little bit, right?
Nah, I think
no.
I think that's your generation, man.
That is probably my generation. Hot Pockets was really the thing back in the day.
Gosh, this is tough. I feel like I just went to the student union way too much, like Subway and Chick-fil-A. It was
when I was in college, those things were not on college campuses very often.
Right.
Like you only had maybe like a school diner and the cafeteria, and then everything else was in your dorm room.
Maybe it was just like chicken nuggets. Maybe I don't know. That sounds disgusting. Microwave chicken nuggets.
Hot Pockets, pepper.
I feed my 3-year-old.
Yeah. Well, it's National Microwave Day, everybody. So throw something in the microwave and have fun today. Something around our house that's really kind of funny. Well, two things actually. One is, we find cups of coffee in our microwave all the time. My wife tends to forget that she heated up a cup of coffee. I don't know if anybody else has that problem out there, but we have that problem consistently at our house. But the other thing is this. Did you know that there's a way to turn off the sounds that a microwave makes? Did you know that?
I didn't.
So this has kind of become
like the audible
beep, when you're pushing buttons and all that. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. So there's this thing on TikTok going around right now where it's basically letting people know that if they hold down, and some microwave, it's the number 2. If you hold down the number 2, then it'll make a beep and then the sounds will be gone. On my microwave, it's actually 0. But if those people don't know and are tired of the noises that the microwave makes, you can actually turn them off on most microwaves, at least as far as I know. And so, there's a little tip for everybody out there. If you're tired of the microwave noise, find the button, hold it down for a while, and then you're good to go.
Now we know.
It doesn't go off when the microwave actually goes off, which could be a problem. And that could also lead to more coffee cups sitting in my microwave. So I'm not sure if I really appreciate it or not, but Anyways, that's something to know
Now
about
we
National
know.
Microwave Day. There you go. All right. The second thing, John, that we do is we do the random question of the day. Now, we let our podcast producers put this together every day. I don't know if it's a
Ooh.
funny question, if it's serious. I don't know if it's a good question or if it's going to be terrible, but let's go ahead and see what it is. The random question of the day today is, if you had $1 million only for an hour, ooh, I like this one. How would you spend it?
Is this is to both of us, me, you?
You get $1 million, I get $1 million. What are you going to do? I'm feeling old because of my answer for this question coming up. I'm feeling old. What do you got?
Man, I think that I would take my family to Disney World and just do a all access deal.
You
No,
book it.
no,
You have $1
no,
million bucks in
no skimping. Like,
how much could you spend at Disney World? How much could you really spend though? Could you spend all $1 million?
I think you could. I
like
mean,
all
think
the
about
gifts
it, right?
you want to get,
All the gifts you wanted, all the food,
so you're
all
just
the
going
games.
all out Disney.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I
like
have no idea. I've never been, but I mean, my kids like Disney princesses. Well, my daughter does. My son's 2, so he would just be running around with his head cut off, pretty much. Like,
you only get an hour to spend it. See, that's the challenging part. You only get an hour to spend it. So that's, I mean, you could spend over time. You could book everything in advance. You could book it all in advance. But
that's true. So maybe I need to reposition. I mean, where the heck do you go to spend $1 million in a? You just go buy jet.
Down payment on a jet.
I mean,
well, you can't get a jet for $1 million. You got to get.
You go to the
part of the jet.
Yeah, go to the casino and
turn that into some real money.
Throw it all on red. I don't know.
Here's my answer. I'm old. I know. Here's my answer. I would be calling some of the leaders in our industry that I think are a winning bet, and I would say, "Hey, can I invest $1 million in your company for X percentage of stock?" And
you're such a dork.
I know, isn't that
such
terrible?
A cliche? That's such the cliche answer.
That's because I'm getting older, man. It's
the
terrible.
first thing that came to my mind too was something along that line, but I thought this was a fun
But you have family.
question.
Well, that's why I said I feel old because of this. I know it's terrible.
You didn't go fun. Old. You went. Oh, I'm just going to talk about retirement.
I know it's terrible.
Invest in. Come on, Trey.
Okay, let's change the answer. I'll change it just real quick. I'll change it. All right. So $1 million. I'll tell you what my wife and I really want to do, and I'm going to go the same theme as you. As we want to do a world cruise. All right. So I would probably book like a year's worth of world cruises. You can do 3 world cruises in a year. So I would do 3 world cruises. I'd book them and all the excursions that you can imagine, so that we're doing everything. Because normally we skimp on excursions on cruises. No skimping. We would go and do everything. We'd whatever's available, we're going to go do it. Some helicopter rides, some plane rides, some bungee jumping, whatever.
I think the funny part about these types of questions is, they're asked, and then we kind of manipulate them a little bit. It's like, because I think the original question probably means like we only can do this activity for an hour.
For 1 hour, that's true.
We're just like, we just like it's not that hard to put your debit card information in, and shouldn't take you an hour if you got the $1 million. We're just spreading it out over the whole year.
Yeah. We just took a little liberty to do that. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good question though, kind of a fun question. Good. So, anyways, all right. Well, John, listen, hey man, we're getting close to the end of the show. Real quick, what's your predictions for 2023? Where are we headed with this market? Are we going to see a slow upturn throughout the year? Do you think, or what are your thoughts?
That's a really good question, and I want to preface what I'm about to say is that this is not advice. This is opinion. But no, I think, in every market cycle, when it starts to turn down and then tick back up, some indicators that we see are typically when specific size of carriers start to shut down. And the initial phase is owner-operators typically put their equipment away. They transition to fleet or company drivers, right? Then you start seeing that 2 to 5 range shutting doors, so on, the 6 to 10, 6 to 15. And then it's like that 20 to 50 range. When you start seeing those size carriers shutting down, it's typically one of the indicators that it'll slowly start ticking back up. An important thing to note too is that the capacity, so the drivers as well as the equipment, never necessarily leaves the market. It just shows up in other areas.
Yeah, different places. Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm curious to see, we've had the election, that we got through that. COVID seems to be for the most part behind us. Some people are still getting it. I know that's still a thing a little bit, but kind of seems to be behind us a little bit. I think that people are going to spend a little bit less on discretionary spending. They'll still have to keep it on consumables and things like that. And it'll be interesting to see how housing prices come down, car prices come down, the whole chip shortage, how that, helps out. But all that hopefully becomes more healthy moving into 2023, or at least at the end of 2023 to move forward.
Right.
But it's all just, I feel like we're still in just a very much a correctional period right now. So, we'll see how that all spins out.
Extreme correction on the front end means extreme correction on the back end.
Right.
Exactly. In most scenarios.
And that's pretty much kind of where we're at right now. So we'll see how it shakes out. But just advice, not an 8-ball prediction at all. But John, it's always great to have you on the show, man. Always good to chat. Thanks for sharing some of your experience from CH and what you're doing now at Logix. And wish you all the best, man. Hope you'll come back and see us in the new year.
Sounds good. And thanks for having me, Trey. I'm sure we'll talk here in a little bit.
Absolutely. And everybody else, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We got a labor market update with Charlie Safro and Brent Orsuga. It's going to be a great show. Episode 199 tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Central. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, John. We'll see you, bud.
See you guys. Bye.